I'm sitting in my little home studio, trying to decide if I should tell my friend yes, that Yamaha Red Label FSX3 is worth the cash, or maybe hold off until you find something that fits your style better. The thing is, whenever you're eyeing a new acoustic-electric guitar, you're balancing a lot of unknowns: how it'll sound when you plug it into an amp, whether the feel stays consistent after a few gigs, and if the price tag actually translates into something you'll use day after day. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What I've seen from people who actually sit with a guitar like this for a few weeks is that the decision isn't just about the wood or the pickup system, it's about the specific scenarios you throw it into. Imagine you're a songwriter who spends mornings sketching chords on a coffee shop table, then moves to a small bar in the evening where you need a clean, punchy signal for a PA. Or picture a college student who wants a reliable instrument for both dorm room practice and campus open mic nights, without having to lug around two separate guitars. Those are the kind of everyday moments where the FSX3 either shines or shows cracks. First, let's talk about the sound. The solid Sitka Spruce top is a classic choice for acoustic guitars, and it tends to open up nicely once a few chords have been played. In real-world testing, that opening up is noticeable when you're playing fingerstyle pieces in the living room. The highs stay articulate without becoming shrill, and you get a warm, resonant low end that fills the space. When you plug the FSX3 into an amp using the Atmosfeel natural electronics, the signal retains that acoustic character rather than sounding overly processed. In my own setup, I ran it through a small combo amp for a house party gig, and the sound kept its natural body, making it easy to blend with vocals and other acoustic instruments. That's a practical strength. The electronics don't mask the instrument's inherent tone, which is a relief for those who want authenticity in both unplugged and amplified settings. Now, the feel. The African mahogany neck feels a bit thicker than a typical maple neck, which can be a subtle but important factor if you have smaller hands or are used to a slimmer profile. When I first pressed the strings, the neck gave a solid, reassuring grip, and the cutaway allowed easy access to the upper frets. For a player who does a lot of solo work and needs those high notes, that design choice makes unstage transitions smoother. However, the thicker neck could be a downside for beginners who are still developing finger strength. If you're just starting out, you might find the neck a touch less forgiving than a slimmer, basswood alternative. The back and sides are made from solid mahogany, which adds a little extra weight compared to laminated models. In practice, that weight translates into a richer, more balanced projection when you're playing unplugged. I tried it during a late-night acoustic jam with a couple of friends, and the instrument didn't get overpowered by the others as often happens with some lighter-weight guitars, so each chord stayed clear. That said, because of the added mass, the FSX3 isn't the lightest travel companion. If you're frequently hopping on a plane or carrying your guitar in a small gig bag, you'll feel the difference compared to a slimmer dreadnought. So the trade-off here is between tonal depth and portability. What about durability? Yamaha's reputation for consistent build quality shows up in the finish and the hardware. The bridge and tuning machines feel robust, and after a few weeks of daily play, there's no noticeable slip or loosening. In a practical sense, that reliability means you can count on the guitar staying in tune through an entire set without constantly retuning between songs, something that matters a lot for gigging musicians. There were a couple of online comments about the finish being slightly more prone to fingerprints, but that's a minor cosmetic issue that can be managed with a quick wipe down after each session. So, who should actually reach for this guitar, and who might look elsewhere? If you're a mid-level player who already has a solid acoustic foundation, and you need a dependable instrument that transitions seamlessly from unplugged to plugged in, the FSX3 checks a lot of boxes. It's particularly well suited for singer-songwriters, folk players, and anyone who values a warm, natural tone that doesn't get lost in a small PA system. The solid spruce top and mahogany body give you that depth, while the Atmosfeel electronics keep the signal honest. Conversely, if you're on a tight budget, or you need a featherlight travel guitar for a road tour, you might find better value elsewhere. The FSX3 sits in a price tier that many beginners could stretch beyond, especially when you consider the extra weight and the slightly thicker neck. Someone looking for a high-gain, modern electric vibe would also skip this model, because the natural electronics are designed for clean, acoustic-friendly output rather than distortion. One practical weakness that